Teresa. How about I'll get right up in there? Al, you want to get right up in here? Right up in here. Right there. Yeah. Pam?
Another Al.
Come.
I'm putting my phone on silent.
Right?
I made that mistake.
Okay. Everybody? All right. Let me say good afternoon to everybody, and honored to have Councilmember Edward Pollard with me today. Then we have Congressman Al Green of the 9th Congressional District, Commissioner Adrian Garcia, Precinct 2, Harris County. We have Teresa Brewer, President of the Black Heritage Society, Pamela McKay, Vice President and General Manager of Radio 1 Houston, Stacy Kennedy. Where's Stacy? Oh, there's Stacy Kennedy, AT&T Assistant Vice President here as well. And then where's State Representative Ron Reynolds? State Representative Ron Reynolds. Look, and I'm pleased to have everyone here, which is on a day where we're talking about the Martin Luther King, the original Martin Luther King Day Parade. So today I'm excited to share some highly anticipated news about the original MLK Day Parade in Houston and announce the parade Grand Marshal. And Al Kashani is here, and Al has been involved in many of the city initiatives and has partnered with us on a number of occasions. So Al, thank you so very, very much. And then before we get started, I also just want to recognize the importance of this event. First, we want to let people know that the parade will go on. Last year, it was virtual. This year, the plan is to move forward with the actual parade. There have been questions about whether the city and the Black Heritage Society would host the original MLK Day Parade this year because of the virus, and the answer is yes. And we will do it safely, starting at 10 a.m. on Monday, January 17th. This year, I'm strongly encouraging people to wear their face masks and make sure that you are vaccinated, and that's with 1, 2, and 3 shots. And then if you got J&J and it's been 2 months, get the booster shot. And we encourage people to be tested before participating in the parade or lining up downtown to watch. So masks, please put your mask on, get fully vaccinated. January 17th is a time for our country and our community to honor Dr. King and his life work, which is dedicated to equality and equity in areas like affordable housing, health care, equity, and voting rights. Houston is the nation's 4th largest and most diverse city, and in honor of Dr. King, this year's City Back Parade will feature marching bands, colorful floats, and much more. It will be a positive event and reflect the city's unity and diversity. And now, let me make this announcement. The announcement of the 2022 original Martin Luther King Day Parade Grand Marshal. This parade has had a distinguished group of Grand Marshals in the past since the city joined with the Black Heritage Society to host the original MLK Day Parade. In 2019, U.S. Representative John Lewis and former Houston Astro George Springer were our co-Grand Marshals for the parade. In 2020, former boxing businessman George Foreman was the Grand Marshal. Sadly, there was no parade in 2021 because of the virus. And for 2022, I am proud to announce this year that our focus will be somewhat local, but with a global international event, and that will be Vanessa E. White, the director of NASA Johnson Space Center, has agreed to serve as this year's Grand Marshal. Let me just say, we thought long and hard about who we could focus on that would reflect the past and the struggles that we've had in the past, and at the same time speak to the present and the future in terms of where we are going. We thought that NASA, with Vanessa White as the director of the NASA Johnson Space Center, reflected that. And so in addition to Vanessa White being the Grand Marshal, we will salute and honor African American astronauts who have or will be going into space. People like Robert Satcher, Bernard Harris, Mae Jameson, and all of these people have a Houston connection or still reside in the Houston area. And people like Jessica Watkins, who will be the first black woman to join the International Space Station. Vanessa E. White captures all of that, the past, the present, and the future, which means if we work together in solidarity, there are no limits to what we can achieve. Director White is the first African American to lead NASA Johnson Space Center and the first African American woman to lead any NASA center. Her leadership comes at a time when space travel, Her leadership comes at a time when space travel is inspiring Americans, young and old, of all backgrounds, and taking our nation to greater heights. NASA's Johnson Space Center is home to America's Astronaut Corps, Mission Control Center, International Space Station, and more than 10,000 civil service and contractor employees. Director White is responsible for overseeing a broad range of human space flight activities, including development and operation of human spacecraft, and she recently welcomed 10 new astronaut candidates who were trained in Houston for 2 years. Director White returned from a recent trip and joins us virtually. Let me welcome and congratulate you on being named this year's MLK Day Parade Grand Marshal, and then turn to Director White.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor Turner, and to the Black Heritage Society for this tremendous honor. I'm just so humbled by this. And I'm super excited to serve as the Grand Marshal for the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade here in Houston, Texas. I just want you to know that this year, NASA's Johnson Space Center is celebrating our 60th anniversary right here in Houston. And we're just very proud, as you said. We stand on a legacy going all the way to Apollo, Shuttle, and now with our commercial launches to the International Space Station. And we are just excited because we're going to return to the moon. But this time we are going to do it differently. We're going to be doing it with commercial partners. We're going to do it with international partners. And we will have the first woman and the first person of color to land on the moon. And from there, then we'll go on from there. We're just super proud to say that Houston is Space City, USA. Thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you, Director White. As I look at you and listen to you, there was a time when people of color couldn't even sit in the same classroom with others, couldn't drink from the same water fountain as others, couldn't live in the same neighborhoods or go to the same hotels. That was that time here on Earth. And now we are saluting you, who is the director of NASA, and we are talking about people of color landing on the moon. So,
super excited. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and look forward to January 17th, as we move forward in the city of Houston. So thank you so very, very much. The Black Heritage Society, along with late founder Obal Duncantel, held the very first parade in the nation. I could only imagine what Obal Duncantel would be saying right about now. But held the very first parade in the nation, and it is licensed by the King Center in Atlanta. Look, just a special, in memory of Obal, someone who fought hard to keep this parade going. And so we will always acknowledge and recognize Ovi Donkentell for what he's doing, and so what he has done, and the fact that we're here today. And at this time, I would like to invite Teresa Brewer of the Black Heritage Society to say a few words about the parade. Teresa. I also want to acknowledge Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who's here today.
Good evening. And again, I'm with the Black Heritage Society, and indeed this is an honor and a prestigious celebration. First of all, I just want to thank the Mayor, Sylvester Turner, for allowing the Black Heritage Society to once again join forces with you all in hosting this parade for the city. We just say thank you. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lived an extraordinary life. At the age of 33, he was pressing the case of civil rights with President John Kennedy. At 35, Dr. King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize. Then, at age 39, he was assassinated. But he left a legacy of hope and inspiration. Ovi Donkentell, as stated by our mayor, Ovi Donkentell Jr. founded the Black Heritage Society, and in 1978, he led a community celebration on renamed street, Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, commemorating the milestone of Dr. King's dream and legacy. I'm sure you can tell this story better than I can. Today, Black Heritage Society and the City of Houston join forces, as the mayor said, for the 44th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Original Parade. Our theme, Be a Drum Major for Justice. Dr. King said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Also, in Dr. King's Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech, King believes nothing compares to unity and harmony. Dr. King Jr. said that the beauty of genuine brotherhood and peace is more precious than diamond, silver, or gold. As we live the teaching, yes, it is love that will save our world and our civilization. Our enemies, even our enemies, by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm here to announce our co-grand marshal that exceeds the phrase that was coined by Dr. Martin Luther King, genuine brotherhood and peace. Our board is here today. I'd just like to, you all are standing, but if you could raise your hand, because we're a team, all the board members, if you all could raise your hands. The advisory council, we have the committee chairs. They've been working diligently and hard, so we just want to acknowledge them. And at this time, I'd just like for our co-grand marshals to stand forward as I call their name for the Black Heritage Society, because we too want to promote unity and harmony. Our co-grand marshal, Claude Cummings Jr. Our co-grand marshal, Gilbert Andrew Garcia, and Al Kashaney. We just want to say thank you for being a representative of genuine brotherhood and peace. Although more than 5 decades have passed since Dr. King's tragic death, Dr. King's spirit lives on. Despite this lethal pandemic, it still has the power to bring ordinary people together to accomplish extraordinary things, inspired acts of courage and compassion, and encourage people to blaze new trails, overcome long-standing obstacles, and make history. Black Heritage Society is thankful for extraordinary members, leaders, businesses, pastors, City Hall, Mayor Sylvester Turner, the great city of Houston, Texas. I personally want to thank not only our board, but especially our media consultant. She did a wonderful job helping us get everything together. And she may be surprised, but that's Miss Judy Stanford. Just an awesome job. Her generosity outsurpasses anything we've ever seen. She's taken us to the next level. Thank you, Miss Judy. Kudos to you. And a few other people here. We're glad to see Carl Davis, my husband. Wave your hand, honey. So if we are having other events, Black Heritage Society, we're having the immediately following the parade, we're going to have a festival downtown. We're having the Hall of Fame induction and awards banquet, as well as gospel extravaganza. Pastor Decker, you here? Going to be held at this church. Again, we'd like to thank you. For more information about registration, please visit our website, www.blackheritagesociety.net, or call 281-582-8888. I am Teresa Brewer, President of the Black Heritage Society. My motto, together we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, thank you. And of course, in order for this parade to be what it should be, it takes everyone coming together and making it happen. So on all levels. And so today we have with us Congressman Al Green, as well as Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and they'll come in that order. Congressman Green.
Thank you very much, Mayor, to all of the persons assembled, especially to the persons who have worked so hard to bring this magnificent event to fruition. To my colleague, Jackson Lee, council members, and to the Grand Marshals of the parade. I am indeed honored to have this opportunity this year. I'm here because I have been informed that I would have a keynote speech to give at the banquet. And I have been given the topic, a drum major for justice. I think it's an appropriate topic because on February 4th of 1968 at Ebenezer Baptist Church, Dr. Martin Luther King gave what some consider his greatest speech when he spoke on the drum major instinct, the desire to lead the parade, to be out front, to make sure you're the one that everybody sees. But he went on to remind us that if you talk about him, say that he was a drum major for justice. Say that he was a drum major for peace. Say that he was a drum major for righteousness. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak on this topic, and I'm so grateful to Ovi Duncan Tell. Ovi Duncan Tell. When other folk literally thought that this was no longer a worthy cause, he persisted on. And sometimes one person with persistence can make a difference. I thank you, Brother Duncan Tell, for making the difference. God bless you, everybody. Thank you.
Ovi Duncan Tell's name is the first name that I will lift up.
That's right.
Brother Duncan Tell, I salute you.
All right.
And thank you for being a soldier on the battlefield for justice. I can only imagine that all of these who are now standing as co-grand marshals, and as well our grand marshal, stand in the vision of Ovi Duncantel, standing in the vision of Daddy King, standing in the vision of Martin Luther King Jr. Mayor, I want to thank you for doing something in this nation that is so needed and that is bringing people together. That has been your guiding post as you lead this city, and I want to thank you in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you to Teresa Brewer, President, the Black Heritage Society, and as well all of the committee and board members for championing this cause. Thank you to Pastor Deckard and the Greenhouse International for sharing your venue, your service. Thank you to AT&T and other sponsors that have stood up and spoke up and remembered and reminded us that we are nothing in this country if it is not people, it is not the corporate infrastructure, and it is not the activists. That is what makes America great. Each one has a seat at the table of empowerment. Thank you very much. To our Commissioner Garcia, to our Councilmember Pollard, to our Representative Reynolds, and of course, my colleague and friend Congressman Al Green. I want to just simply say, as we speak about these outstanding and present co-grand marshals and grand marshals, I don't want to leave out, of course, our community bank leader, John Scroggins, and Magic 102 Radio 1, Pam McKay. I want to make sure she knows that I am definitely eyeing her as a public servant because they never say no when you call, and I'm so grateful to them. But I do want to, in this instance of the genius of a Grand Marshal and 3 co-Grand Marshals, to acknowledge the leadership and passion and heart of Ali Kashani for children and young people in the effort and partnership with 50 Cent, who would have thought, to really bring young people into the forefront of the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you, Mr. Kashani, very much. Thank you to Claude Cummings, who has been at the forefront of protecting democracy by leading union workers and empowering those who cannot speak for themselves. He is truly an anchor of justice. Claude Cummings, thank you very much. Allow me to thank Mr. Garcia Gilbert, who laid a pathway for mobility against all odds, and we are grateful to you for that, Mr. Garcia. Thank you so very much. And then I want to acknowledge Vanessa. I heard her words, but I might call her that. Maybe I'll slip and call her Sarah. But she is, I am an avid supporter of NASA and space exploration. I served on the Science Committee. And Mayor, you gave a brilliant testimony to both Mae Jemison and the brilliance of this selection. Thank you to you, your staff, the committee. Vanessa is such a history maker. It may be 50 years for NASA, but she is the first African-American, period, to lead a national center in NASA. And we were at the forefront of fighting for her, but her record stood for itself. Judy, you had a lot to do, but I know that you've got a lot of good material to be able to say to America and to this great parade, look what we've got here in Houston, Texas. I want everybody to hear our resounding voice. So let me close on this point that I started on and take some words from Teresa Brewer. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If there ever was a moment in America's history that Martin Luther King parade's acknowledgement was needed, it is needed now in a divided America. This week symbolizes division that we had never thought we would have ever expected. The fear, the brutality is something that America had not experienced against itself since the Civil War. And race is at the cornerstone of divisiveness, sadly, even in 2021, 2022. And so I want to leave us with the joy of the parade. I thank you all for that. but I want to leave it with the kind of depth of Ovi Duncantown, and that is, we must be serious in this parade. It must be a representative of fighting for unity and people from all backgrounds and religions coming together. And it must be an affirmation. I hope there is a voting rights float, because it needs to say that whatever we're doing, walking, playing on a float, we are walking in demanding the passage of the Voting Rights Act that is now before the United States Congress. I hope before we march, it will be passed. But as you continue to plan, the spirit of corporations, activists, social leaders, government leaders should be that we must demand the passage of the Voting Rights Act. Mayor, thank you for your leadership and yielding. Thank you again very much to this committee.
Thank you very much. And if you'll be patient with us just for a few minutes, it is important. We want to acknowledge and certainly give them an opportunity to say words, even if it's brief. Let me first call on Commissioner Garcia, followed by State Representative Ron Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Brewer, Congress members, Sheila Jackson-Lee and Al Green, and State Representative Reynolds, Mayor Turner, to your council, to the Grand Marshals, and to the co-Grand Marshals, rather. Let me just say how exciting this is. And Judy, let me just say, I have heard what you have done for this parade from your heart. And so we must not forget Ms. Judy Falston. So again, thank you, thank you. But you know, I am reflecting on this occasion because number one, Ovid was such a beautiful human being. Boy, a heart on fire. Don't get on his wrong side. But as thin as Ovid was, the man cast a shadow. And the only shadow bigger than him, Claude, was that of Dr. King. But boy, I tell you that Ovid drew on the inspiration of Dr. King every day, but especially on this occasion, because he saw a mountaintop that looked towards one parade in a united city, a united community, a united county, and ultimately a united country. But I reflect on also Dr. King's dream, where he wanted to see all children come together and play together. And I reflect on that because I am the product of racial integration in Houston. I remember when I got transferred from Sherman Elementary, a predominantly white school. Well, it was filled with a lot of Hispanics, but we were called white. And we were transferred to Crawford Elementary over in Houston's Fifth Ward. And there was picket lines and parents who were protesting, carrying signs saying, we cannot have this. And I remember looking at my daddy, and his Spanish was almost as good as yours, Mayor. I asked him, I said, Daddy, what are we going to do? And he says, about what? And I said, what about that? And I point to the picket line and all the protesting. My dad goes, I don't know what those people's problems are. All I know is you got to go to school. So as a good Democrat, I crossed the picket line back then, Congress member. And my sister and I were the only ones that got on a big bus that day and made our way to Crawford Elementary. And then that experience also eventually took me over to River Oaks Elementary, where I would one day be a lawn boy, cleaning out pools and cutting shrubs and mowing lawns. But I was there because I was the first class of the elementary school for the gifted, of which Jeff Bezos would be a couple of classes behind me. I wish I'd gotten to know him back then. But that experience has taught me that when we are children, we just see each other as children. We're innocent. We know no better but to accept each other. And so I would just say that on this occasion, in the memory of Ovid, in the memory of the great Dr. King, let us find that inner child in each and every one of us. And let's not know any better. Let's not know any different. But let us come together. It is important that we do it now. Thank you very much, and congratulations to all.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Ron Reynolds. I'm going to be very brief. I echo the sentiments that have already been stated, and I'm reminded of, you started to talk about one quote about injustice, but I'm reminded of another quote that Dr. King said. As we celebrate and commemorate this great day, it needs to be a day of service. And we need to be reminded of his words that life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? What are you doing for others? Ovi Duncantel, he exemplified, his body, his life was dedicated to paying it forward. For, as Congressman Green, you like to say, the least, the last, and the lost, the underprivileged, the underserved. All of us have a responsibility to pay it forward. And I hope that each and every one of us would take this day, not just this one day, but every day in our life, and think about, what are we doing to pay it forward? We all stand on the shoulders of those who paved the way for us. And we know that voting rights is at stake. So many things are on the precipice of going back in the wrong direction towards Jim Crow, towards many dark days in our country. So Mayor Turner, Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, and Al Green, and Commissioner Garcia, and Councilmember Pollard, all of us are committed to standing united in this diverse community that we have. We are the most diverse area, and this parade is going to reflect that. And I just want to thank all of the sponsors, all of the board members of the Black Heritage Society who took me in as a young person, working with them, and helped me foster into the person that I am today. So thank you, and God bless you. And let's continue to commemorate not just the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, but Ovi Duncantel and his legacy of service and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Three more. I can't close it without inviting even my own council member. That would be remiss in not having him speak. So Councilmember Edward Pollard, and then followed by Radio 1.
Thank you to the mayor, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green, Commissioner Garcia, State Rep Ron Reynolds, all that are gathered here today, our grand marshals and our co-grand marshals. Thank you for all you do. Here to celebrate my Morehouse brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And not just Martin Luther King Jr., but the many people that were around Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It took a village and a community and cities all across this country, black and white, to stand together, to fight for what they knew was to be right. And as we sit here today in 2022, as the most diverse city in the country, let us be an example of what it means to come together. Let us be an example for what it means to put away our biases and find ways in which we can find common ground for common good. Yeah. And so, as we look at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, let's take time to reflect. Reflect on the pain, reflect on the things that they were fighting for, because those are the same things that now is our responsibility to champion and move forward so that our tomorrows will be better than our yesterdays. And so please take this opportunity to talk to your kids and your grandkids about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., all that he stands for, and the responsibility of us now going forward to do the same. God bless you all.
All right. Radio 1 has always been there over and over and over again. When you talk about this parade, for example, as well as other events, Radio 1 has utilized their resources, gotten the message out without even being asked. Can't say enough for Pam, for your leadership, your support, your participation on every single level. So let me bring up now Pam McKay of Radio 1. Pam.
Thank you, Mayor. And as everyone has already said, thank Mr. Duncantel for his vision and his persistence, and to all the members of the Black Heritage Society for their persistence of keeping the memory going and the vision going. I first want to say on behalf of the team at Radio 1 Houston that we are extremely proud to be partners with the City of Houston, the Black Heritage Society, for the Martin Luther King Day Parade. And while I do believe that every year gives more than enough reason on its own, after the last couple of years, I think our community this year is even more excited about celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Black Heritage Society continues to do an exceptional job of highlighting and showcasing not only the legacy, but the manifestations of the work and the sacrifice of Dr. King. Seeing us all in this room in City Hall is one major example of that. We would not be here were it not for the work of Dr. King. So that being said, again, we at Radio 1 are extremely proud and excited to be part of the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration this year, and are happy to support however we can.
Thank you, Pam. There are many sponsors to this event, but one of the leading sponsors to this event is AT&T. Representing AT&T is Stacey Kennedy. Stacey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. Thank you to all of the elected officials on program today. Martin Luther King Jr. Day encourages us to honor Dr. King's memory through service. While we often remember him for his inspiring words, his actions were what created his legacy of hope and healing. Dr. King envisioned a world in which we could all share in wealth on this earth. On January the 17th, we celebrate Dr. King's life with a day of service as Americans come together to strengthen our communities and bridge barriers between them. This day serves as a reminder of how far we have come and how much work we still remains to be fulfilled for Dr. King's vision for this country. In his sermon titled, "3 Dimensions of a Complete Life," King said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" He challenged us to build a better society, and every individual has a role to play in that. Our commitment, AT&T's commitment to ongoing service in an effort to better our communities. Many of AT&T's core values align with Dr. King's mission in life and define who we are as a company. Live true, be there, stand for equality, embrace freedom, and make a difference. At AT&T, these are values define who we are as a company and as individuals. We are committed to living them every day in communities across the country and around the world. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Stacey. Well, we're looking forward to January 17th. Isn't it ironic that the Grand Marshal for this parade, Vanessa White, the director of the Johnson Space Center, will be lifted up by the 3 co-Grand Marshals in the sense of this event, Gilbert Garcia, Al Kashani, and Claude Cummins. So I do too, before I close it out, I do want to acknowledge, I didn't recognize her at first being behind the mask, Judy Faustin. Judy Faustin and I go back a long time. But it's good to see her and her involvement with the Black Heritage Society and this MLK parade. She herself could certainly be honored. So Judy, it's just always good to see you. Let me thank Susan Christian and Special Events for their work in putting this on. Susan, thank you so very, very much. Being right there on the front line, so very much appreciate that. Again, to Teresa Brewer, President of the Heritage Society, Black Heritage Society, to the board members of the Black Heritage Society, let me acknowledge all of you, and then everyone who will be participating on whatever level. Let me encourage all the bands, you name it, to come, participate in it, be a part of it, and again, we want to put on a grand event. We also want to do it very safely. Let's be cognizant and mindful that the virus has not disappeared. So please, the best thing, get vaxxed all the way, fully, okay? Make sure you get tested, keep on your mask, and then let's just have a grand time. So thank you all. Let me thank all the sponsors, the supporters on whatever level, volunteers, you name it. But January 17th, we'll see you at 10 a.m. No, back it up. We'll see you at 9:59. Okay, 5:59. The parade will start at 10 a.m. All right, thank you all so very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,